your character specifically.
I'm listening.
Being a disabled
I'm multitasking
character.
as you talk. Being a disabled character, have you watched the pilot?
I have not watched the pilot yet, no.
Well, there you go. You watch the pilot and then come back to me with that question. Anybody else?
It's more about how you have you looked into researching people who use wheelchairs and
you gotta watch the pilot. You gotta watch the pilot.
Killing me.
I can't, because I can't answer that question without like. You have to watch the pilot. You know, I respect the question, and as soon as you watch it, you'll be like, oh. I will say this: I did a movie called Sublime. It was quickly forgotten, or actually, it had to be seen and remembered to be forgotten. So, but in it, I play a character without a leg who's going through like this. It's a suspense movie, and so I'm in the wheelchair, and that was a grueling shoot, terrifically fun. The movie is independent. And so I came into this going, okay, yeah, I sort of know what I'm doing, and I did a lot of research for that thing, and tried to get it right, etc., and so on and so forth. And then I got to this thing, and it was like, oh, motorized and top of the line, anything I wanted, I could get on it, and it was in a strange way, it mirrored the difference between your little can-do independent projects and a network show. The wheelchair is a symbol of that. And that's not dodging the question. You'll soon see what I meant. Yeah.
Talk about the character, though. I mean, in your mind, who is he? I mean, as you're playing, what kind of? Because obviously he's very shaded in that pilot. I saw the pilot.
Okay.
He's very shaded in the pilot. So what's?
Well, and again, I'm not trying to stymie your questions whatsoever. It's one of the few roles, as anyone that knows me, I'm fairly forthcoming with all this stuff, and this is one of those instances, like a good comic book, where there's certain secrets that we have to keep. In a strange way, Barry Allen, Grant Gustin plays Barry Allen, and even though Barry Allen is like an ordinary guy with extraordinary powers, in many ways he's the most easily defined character for us on screen. There's 80 plus years of mythology we can tap into. We sort of know what he wants and where he's going, whereas a number of us, myself included, like any good comic book, are operating on a few different levels. Now, those levels are something that essentially sold me on the show, and I've done a couple of shows with Andrew and Greg Berlanti, and they have delivered every time we've gotten together. So when they talked about this one, I was like, they kind of shut the door and they kind of like laid out the show for me, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm in. Jesse had the same experience, and I think what's nice about doing this show is like if you do if I'm sitting here talking to you, like it's not always the case, but generally that means we must have done something decent with the pilot. Sometimes we've done terrible pilots and they still get picked up, but in this instance I think it's a decent pilot. And then the temptation is, with all the characters that you kind of like have presented, it's like, okay, so if that worked, then we need to kind of mimic that, and sometimes there's a very slow ascendancy in the first season. In this thing, it's remarkable, like these guys, Andrew and Greg and Jeff, have no interest in sort of copying what they've done. In the first 9 episodes alone, there's an extremely fearless brand to what they're doing, to the point where I said to Greg, I'm like, are we all worried about being able to regenerate story, because we are getting so much. If you are a fan of this kind of thing, I tell you, the Flash, the first 9 in the Flash is just like boom, 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 things that you might think you want to keep in your quiver.
Yeah.
No, they're firing those things off in a hurry, and we're kind of like reading the script going, what? Wow, already? Wow. And I said to Greg, are you we'd all concerned about story, quote, he's like, always more story. Mm-hmm. So if you're a fan of this kind of thing, I think it's going to be rewarding.
Well, Tom, I mean, can you tease us a little bit, basically the next few episodes after the pilot about your character, because we don't understand the layers of your character until the end of the pilot.
All I can say about that, and again, like I'm not trying to, but this is a thing where it's like, look, you can't, we can't, and you'll get the same thing from Andrew and Greg and Jeff. But that's sort of like that. You don't really understand, but that thing there is just like the tip of it. You know what I mean? Like that little thing is just a tiny unveiling of where we can go. and it's, for me personally, having like all these different levels to play is tremendous. You know, my hope is people, you know, like look back and go, there's tiny little things that I'm trying to like stick in there, you know, from the lore and all this kind of stuff that maybe they'll notice and like, what? Oh, you know. So, and I think there's a lot of that. I think for Cisco and Caitlin, you know, played by Danielle, and Carlos Valdez, there's you know, there's like, I think like a good comic book thing, there's not like a lot of, I know what that is, straight pipe, you know, there's reinvention and all this kind of stuff that's happening. And you know, we have in Jeff, I think when you tackle that kind of stuff, I think like Ben Affleck puts on the Batman suit and suddenly everybody's like, hold on. You know, like there's a lot of like, for want of a better word, there's a lot of judgment that happens, you know, and I think that's fine because it's the comic world. With us, I think that's tempered a little bit because we have kind of the keepers of the flame right now running our show, you know, and it gives us as actors a lot of security. You know, these guys know the stuff, you know, and if you have a question in a very non-intimidating way, they break it down for you, and it's great. It's great for all of us.
How much did you know about the Flash before taking this?
Well, yeah, I mean, you see how quickly I answered? I'm like, yeah. But it was a very humbling thing. You know, I thought like I'm like, I know that, you know, very knowledgeable. I know Wally West, and I know the different Flashes, and I know this kind of thing. I know a ship, you know. But then you get on board, and you're like, oh, I'm the neophyte, you know, like really, like, you know, and I really kind of thought that I had a little bit of hubris about it. And I found out that I'm very, you know, I'm playing at the very low level, you know. But again, what's nice about these guys is like the stuff that you don't know is like, you don't know? No, he's, you know, like that kind of thing. It's never that. It's like a methodical and exciting. Like if you talk to, the thing I tell a lot of, like we did the TCAs last week, and the thing I tell the press, if you were like to come on set and you were pointing a camera at us from 100 feet away, what you would see was his, you know, handsome, disheveled, you know, 6'5" Kreisberg in a distance. You wouldn't be able to hear, but you'd see him kind of, us actors surrounding him, and him in the middle of a circle going, just gesticulating wildly, and all the actors around going, like that was sort of what you would be seeing, because he's like, they're extremely, I mean, this is like kind of a dream come true in many ways for them as well, you know, so there's a lot of enthusiasm about the project. That means nothing, you know, it's all about viewership. We could be 3 and out, but at the same time, at this moment, it's, you know, the palpable joy that surrounds it is, as you know, not always the case. For us, it is the case, and that's a very good place to go to work.